The Browns have their rookies reporting for training camp in less than 48 hours. And then after the weekend, the veterans will join them and we will get full on into the 2025 version of Cleveland Browns training camp. There's big questions pretty much everywhere about this team. We'll go through some of the bigger ones right now on this episode of Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things dog pound. Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd. We appreciate everybody who comes on out to the OBR in a daily fashion, whether it is for your favorite written content from our fantastic group of writers, or whether it is coming to the OBR streaming network beginning every evening at 6 p.m., started with Browns 3D. After us tonight, you will get the legends, Barry McBride and, of course, Fred Greetham, as they will catch you up on their own version of everything that is going on with the Cleveland Browns as well. We will have countless coverage for you over the next few weeks, but I do want to bring to you a very special little announcement here. As always, we thank you for turning in to the OBR streaming network. If you like our programming here, please make sure to check out the OBR.com website and especially our VIP premium service. VIP subscribers get exclusive access to our VIP premium forums, including Insider Central for premature scoops, the OBR VIP stories, and all the exclusive recruiting and transfer portal scoop from across the 247 Sports Network. If you're tiptoeing around it, training camp's about to begin. It's probably the time, as the Browns try to up their game, you up your game as well and get this VIP subscriber info only at the OBR. Now, we'll continue the series this week. We can get to linebackers tomorrow. We can certainly get to the defensive backs on Friday. But with the open slot here, I figured we would probably get to, the burning questions, the biggest questions currently surrounding the Cleveland Browns as 2025 training camp is set to begin. Now, I guess we start at the quarterback position because there is no bigger, more burning question than the Cleveland Browns quarterback position. And I think right now, what you think is being reported to all of us right now, I don't honestly believe it. I think you have many people who cover this team who kind of will today tell you how they think Dylan Gabriel's going to be the guy. Tomorrow, Pickett. Just throwing information around. Okay. What we know are the contenders of Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and of course, Shador Sanders. I think everybody is under this assumption that as far as of the veterans, Kenny Pickett might be in the lead because the Browns made him basically the first splash, and that would be of the veteran quarterbacks. I also think there are some people that are trying to use that same thought process to connect Dylan Gabriel as maybe the leader of the pack right now of the two rookies. And again, using the same premise, he was selected over the other guy. And maybe that is the case as far as how this all is going to start. And we saw that that was kind of the case maybe when everybody was together for mandatory OTAs. Mandatory, yeah. With that, Pickett getting early reps, Flacco not getting a ton of reps. And, that kind of follows in suit of what most of us have been telling you here at the OER is that Joe doesn't need to necessarily be fully entrenched in the quarterback battle to hopefully ultimately win it. Joe just doesn't need as many reps. He doesn't. Now, Dylan Gabriel certainly got more of the, and if we're going to use this phrase correctly, I would say the power reps, the money reps over Shador Sanders early. But these guys still got to try and beat out for Pickett, his veteran counterpart, and for Dylan Gabriel, his rookie counterpart. It's a hell of a lot easier said than done. I don't think anybody you would talk to or ask to in regards to football, in regards to the quarterback position, in regards to the Cleveland Browns, would tell you that they think Kenny Pickett is probably better right now than what Joe Flacco is. Now, I'm not saying Kenny can't go in there and get hot. Kenny can't find his way within this team, within this offensive system, with these playmakers, and find a way. But my belief is if Kenny could have done this, and Kenny could have found a way to play sustainable, above average level at the quarterback position, he probably would have never left Pittsburgh. Wouldn't have gotten traded to Philly, who subsequently traded him when Philadelphia realized that they preferred Tanner McKee over Kenny Pickett. And that was what ended with Kenny Pickett being traded very early in the new calendar year to the Cleveland Browns. I think everybody's enamored with the Geno Smith route and, of course, now the Sam Darnold route of, finding this quarterback where, it just didn't work out and, that situation wasn't that great and, he wasn't the best version of himself then. Look, this Geno Smith, Sam Darnold route at the quarterback position, it's a rarity. It's an oddball. Just usually doesn't happen. Do I agree that NFL teams and coaches and front offices give up on young quarterbacks too soon? I 100% agree with that. There's no question that I agree with that. But it doesn't also mean that, in most of these scenarios where these teams are giving up on these young quarterbacks, that they're wrong about what they felt about the quarterback. And it can't just be that, you're going to rely on the running game. That's obviously a really unproven commodity right now for the Cleveland Browns and remains even more unproven. Certainly where I would say we have Quinshon Judkins. And again, I don't think he's leaving and he's never going to be a Cleveland Brown. But I do believe there's right now probably going to be a limbo period for Quinshon Judkins. And when he ultimately, makes his training camp debut, if he does, it's going to be a minute on probably on Quinshon Judkins. And, it's the price you got to pay. Gabriel, I mean, the story, the longevity in college football, the finding your way and succeeding at 3 different universities and, finding a way to ingratiate yourself within each one of those locker rooms as a quarterback, getting the respect that you deserve, the respect that you should command as a quarterback, all of those things, huge, obviously. And, congrats and, big props to Dylan Gabriel for going and doing exactly what he did. I'm just not sure that, all that success in college football is going to translate into the NFL. A shorter left-handed quarterback, just small. I'm just not seeing. And again, a lot of it is so much based on where you are and the situation you're put into, the system you're put into, the franchise. I'm not going to turn back now because people maybe are trying to, report new news. Joe Flacco and Shedeur Sanders are the best 2 quarterbacks the Browns have. These are the guys that should make up the playing time for this team. If you want to say you want to play Dylan Gabriel because you want to know if you think he's got something or not, that's an argument I can't get into, and I maybe can't necessarily even disagree with. But if you truly want to compete, it's Joe Flacco. And I'll be even go one further. If you truly want to complete, it's Joe Flacco, unless you think somehow, some way, and it is odd for a fifth round quarterback to be ready for week one, although it's also unjust to necessarily just lump Shador Sanders in with normal fifth round quarterbacks. But if you told me that everybody thinks that Shador Sanders is ready to be the quarterback in week one, that Shador Sanders is your starter. He's the only one in this quarterback room on this roster who is going to training camp for the Cleveland Browns, who could possibly be the long-term starter. You want to find a way to use those 2 first-round picks in April 2026 in the draft, which will be in Pittsburgh, April 23rd through April 25 of 2026. So mark down your calendars, kids. We'll see you on April 23rd for the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft, and we'll have a blast again. And no, we will not make Casey Kinnaman eat spam. As much as I was starting to get excited about the new running back room, and, it's always going to sting, of course, that 24 is not here anymore. But as I was trying to, turn the page and, start to appreciate the newness and what could be a nice long future run, of course, the Quinshon Judkins off-field incident has poo-pooed that, of course. It doesn't mean that, I don't think there's, now a stronger possibility for Jerome Ford to put together a decent and hopefully for him lucrative year. And when I say lucrative, meaning that he will be in a contract here and there's the opportunity for Jerome Ford to maybe cash in for a little bit of money for 2026, most likely with a team other than the Cleveland Browns. Dylan Sampson, and with what's going on with Quinshon Judkins, is this going to force the Browns to maybe alter whatever the perceived role for Dylan Sampson was going to be? As we all know, there were opportunities where we saw him and he was doing, lining up like wide receivers, working on the receiving aspect of his game. We certainly saw times where he was in jet motion, lined up with a second running back, 2 running backs in the backfield. I don't know if this is altering what that plan was with Judkins' situation. And again, how I feel the the near future, meaning Friday, when Browns rookies are supposed to report to training camp. My guess is that Quinshon Judkins will show up and the Browns will say, he reported for training camp. And then the Cleveland Browns will subsequently have Quinshon Judkins go home until the legal system runs its course. Now, for Judkins, I mean, this can work out a million ways, obviously. Good for him, indifferent for him, bad for him. But my guess is within the league, however it works out for Quinshon Judkins legally, it doesn't necessarily mean that, he, even if he found a way where he walked or the charges got dropped, I'm not necessarily sure there's a way that he is going to get away from any discipline from the NFL. But that's my belief is that Judkins will report on Friday and the Browns will just subsequently just grant him a leave of absence while the legal system plays out. So certainly, excited for the newness of that room, but certainly that excitement is currently dampered as we wait and watch how this unfolds for Quinshon Judkins. In regards to the wide receivers, I mean, I think we've all gotten to the point, I think, where, even though it was only 1 year, extremely satisfied with Jerry Jeudy, a trade that Browns just absolutely crushed and won. And at times, people, wow, you gave up. You're going to chase Jeudy, and the Browns gave an extension immediately. And the Browns, it's one of the few things they looked extremely smart on in the 2024 season was not only the, acquisition to bring in Jerry Jeudy, but was basically doubling down and giving Jerry Jeudy the contract extension. The questions here are what exactly is there after Jerry Jeudy? Is Cedric Tillman in year 3 after a 3-week stretch in 2024 where he showed extremely well? Can that be the week in, week out Cedric Tillman? It's going to be a big thing to follow here. Deontay Johnson, can he just toe the line, keep to himself, not let the nonsense, BS, whatever, get into his own head, and just go out there and play ball? Jamari Thrash is going to be a guy who contended all spring, who's going to come in here and contend all summer. And Jamari Thrash is going to push for playing time. He really is. And, hungry, obviously, hoping and willing for his own opportunity. Where is David Bell after a heinous dislocated hip ended his 2024 season early when it really looked like maybe he was going to be a guy that was going to contribute more than he ever did? David Bell will also be in his final year of his rookie deal. Certainly fighting for his spot here with the Cleveland Browns, but also trying to build up a resume to appeal himself to an impending free agent run in the spring. Harold Fannin and rookie tight ends, it just doesn't usually go seamlessly with the transition in the NFL. Brock Bowers was the anomaly. The blocking responsibilities in the NFL game are a lot bigger than they were in college. The players are a lot bigger and stronger and faster, of course. Fannin, just an absolute baby. Was 20 when he was drafted. Played the entirety of his rookie season at 21 years old. So he is the key to that tight end room. Because I think, and honestly, this is, a feather I'll give to Flacco. I will give to Pickett. I will give to Gabriel. I will give to Shedeur Sanders. I think all 4 of them are probably going to provide a little bit more consistent quarterback play than we certainly saw in 2024. But the key to that room and whether or not it, can be something is, how much involvement there will be for Harold Fannin. How much production can we expect from Harold Fannin as a rookie? The offensive line, I think, a lot of people just want to say, hey, the group is healthy. Hey, they're going back to the system that they dominated and they were familiar with and they were comfortable with. And those are, true statements, of course. But that 4 from Joel Bitonio to Posick to Teller to Conklin aren't getting any younger. So there's certainly a question of, where father time is equating into what this group is going to provide this season for Cleveland. DeJuan Jones getting the opportunity at left tackle and maybe just turns out to be a guy who's okay and average at left tackle. That actually would be an improvement from what the Browns have had the last couple of years at, left tackle. But DeJuan Jones is certainly, competing for that role. And even if he doesn't catch the confidence of the Browns coaching staff and front office enough to secure down, at least for 2026 as well, the starting role at left tackle? Did he do enough where the Browns do believe that he is their future right tackle? So, I mean, Dewan, this is working one of two ways. If he really balls out, he's the Browns left tackle. If he doesn't play miserably, he plays middle of the road, maybe he's the Browns right tackle starting in 2026, of course. It's pretty simple with the offensive line. Defense, I think it gets a little hairier, certainly. I spoke yesterday and, I went in depth on this defensive line. And I really think this defensive line is going to be a vastly improved group this year. And I think it's going to be the point where this team improves here in 2025, but also becomes a group that is kind of set up now for 26, 27, 28. Myles Garrett, I mean, you just say the name, everybody kind of chuckles. You just say Myles Garrett, and I think it kind of gives you a smile because right now that is probably the one thing Cleveland Browns related, to give you an at 100% automatic smile. You guys obviously got to go through this with Joe Thomas, and now you're getting to go through it with Myles Garrett, and it's just watching greatness daily, watching the elite of the elite on a daily basis. When he was just a kid from Texas in 2017 to now where he's one of the richest men in the NFL, and rightfully so, just doing his thing day in, day out, and certainly wreaks havoc within the AFC North, along with anybody else that the Cleveland Browns seem to face. But Isaiah McGuire, Mason Graham, Mike Hall, Juwan Briggs, between these five, that's, hopefully a core five here for a few years. And you blend some guys in every years, every year or so. It depends. Maybe one year you need a little more help on the interior. The following year you need maybe a little bit more help, at the edge position. But it's finally a sustainable product on the inside and the outside. And you have that building block. And the building block is not old. That building block is in the prime of his career. And it's just something that this franchise, I have not seen them get to a point where I could even say, oh, here is the potential of a long-running defensive line. But at least now they have it, and it's age appropriate. The linebacker position, the loss of JOK is huge. It's paramount. But I think you probably have to realize that, once he was just out as long as he just wasn't, it was longer than we all thought. And I hate it for JOK, and I really hope he's able to come back next season. But, the selection of Carson Schlesinger and the fact that it was so high in round 2 certainly makes you think that the Cleveland Browns are trying to find a way here to give this room some control, and maybe, give this room what it had with JOK. Of course, there are others here, whether it's Hicks, whether it's Mahmoud Diabate, Jerome Baker, Devin Bush, Buki Watson. Browns probably going to keep 5. The 2 reserves are probably going to be counted on deeply for special teams work. I probably favors a guy like Mahmoud Diabate. But there's a lot of names here for the Browns in that linebacker room. But the belief certainly should be is that, Carson Schlesinger goes up and, just basically seizes the opportunity and, takes over a top spot on this defense at the linebacker position very quickly in a training camp. He has the potential to be the best of this group. So you think that hopefully he should hit that potential pretty quickly. Newsome and Emerson, so much at stake for both guys right now as they head into the final years of their rookie deals. Coming off of promising and pretty darn good 2023 seasons, and basically the polar opposite in 2024. But it is now the time for both these guys where they need to for themselves long term, certainly for the Browns to be perceived better in 2025, to have more success in 2025. They need these guys to return to the level that they were certainly in 2023. You know what you got with Denzel? There will probably be some newness coming to this room in 2026 because there's certainly a scenario where, the Browns would re-sign one of Newsom or Emerson. There certainly could be a high probability that the Browns don't re-sign either of Newsom or Emerson if they don't turn around their play here this season. Safety position is a little bit more of a wide open because we don't necessarily know the contenders just yet. Grant Delpit is smooth, solid, good football player. Good in man coverage on tight ends and running backs. Really active in run defense. Proved to be an excellent selection for this team when they made it to him. So you have the one proven, the one constant within that safety room. Obviously, a large opportunity here for Rodney Hickman now in year 3. And another guy who had better football, especially during the regular season in 2023, than he did in 2024. Ken Hickman just sees the opportunity. There's nobody necessarily to beat out but himself. He can beat himself out in the wrong way. He can play himself out of the opportunity for this gig. And a free safety, center fielder, and a Jim Schwartz defense, the opportunity should be there. You should find opportunity to succeed within this defense. That's what getting all this pass rush is about. And hopefully getting, more consistent pass rush than you did in 2024, similar to what you had in 2023. So for Ronnie Hickman, this is a huge, huge opportunity. Barely scraping the surface here, scraping the surface, but there are a lot of questions, as you guys all know, in regards to this Cleveland Browns team this year. And I do think, and I agree with most, that I think the latest Judkins incident here that just dropped, maybe if we were trying to build up our excitement meter, maybe that has poo-pooed it, which is fair. But I also think a lot of us are just generally indifferent as to what we think this team is capable of in 2025. I think every one of us just basically have the same thought of I just don't know. We just rattle off half hour's worth of questions here. And again, that's barely scratching the surface on, what could be or could not be issues for this team this season. We're going to get to the linebackers tomorrow. We'll close out the show on Friday, of course. Talking deeper about the secondary. We'll see if there's any breaking or pertinent news from the beginning of training camp in regards to the rookies reporting on Friday. Again, I think Judkins will report so the Browns can say that he reported. I think the Browns will excuse him and, again, let the legal system play out. We appreciate everybody who comes to the OBR Daily for their favorite Cleveland Browns written content. Make sure, if you are not subscribed to the OBR.com, you take care of that. Make sure you jump on that VIP subscription. This is the time. This would be the time. Training camp springs and hope anew. So now would be the time to get your hands on that VIP subscriber access only at theobr.com. Make sure to continue to coming out every night at 6 o'clock to the Brown Streaming Network here. The OBR on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed. The OBR over on Twitch. Make sure you're subscribed. And again, we're just, thankful and appreciative to all of you. And we're just, starting to sink our teeth in here to just absolutely cover another year of Cleveland Browns football. We're wild. We're hilarious. We're nuts. We covered the Cleveland Browns. Maybe that should be our new slogan here at the OBR, Barry. What do you say? All that being said, again, appreciate everybody for, listening, watching, reading. Means the world to us. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. Browns 3D on the OBR streaming network, and we will talk to y'all tomorrow.